My name is David Holden, and I am here with Mark Bagley, the creator extraordinaire of many characters, and actually, your work dominates the majority of my collection. Last night, I was
You need to get out more.
I was going through all my boxes, and I just have all of my New Warriors, my Spider-Man, Speedball, like everything like that. So you really influenced a lot of my just my love of comics. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, thanks. I hear that quite often with people because I've been in this business for thousands of years, and it's always nice to hear.
Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you a little bit, how did you get into the business? I mean, we know your work, as a pro, but I don't know much about how you broke into the business.
This is actually a really, really good story. I'm one of 7, and none of my brothers, all 6 of them, 5 of them, ever drew a comic ever read a comic in their lives, including my twin brother. And so I've been trying to get into. I was like 9 years old. I wanted to do comics, which is crazy. And I was 27. I joined the Army so I could afford to go to art school. I got out of art school and did construction for 3 years, which that's what you do when you go to art school, because I had no other skills. And I got a job at Lockheed. I fell off a couple of roofs and my back wasn't any good for working anymore. It's like, what am I going to do? And luckily I got a job doing technical illustration at Lockheed. And so my first desk job, and I was actually drawing, and it was cool. So I was there for about a year and a half, and Marvel came out with the Marvel Tryout book, and I was about ready to quit trying to get to join. I'd gone to conventions and shown my stuff, and I swore to myself I wasn't going to be a 30-year-old guy walking around a convention going, "Hey, look at my stuff," If it wasn't going to happen, it wasn't going to happen. I had a wife, a kid, and a house, and the life.
Right.
And so Marvel came out with the Tryout book. It was $12.99, which I'd even forgotten the price of it. My daughter got me a copy of it for Christmas a couple of years ago. And you bought it, and it was done in sections. John Romita Jr. actually started the art in the book, and it was done, and he dropped sections out depending upon what you want to do, whether you want to be an inker or a colorist or a penciler.
Right.
There were blank pages, 5 of them, I think, 5 or 6 for penciling that part of the story, the plot. And I looked at it, and I was at my local comic book store, and I wasn't going to buy it. I thought it was a gimmick to take money from kids. Marvel was getting some bad press at the time, and I just thought it was a gimmick to take money from kids. And so the owner of the comic book store, Cliff Biggers, Dr. Nose in Marietta, Georgia, gave it to me. He said, "Look, if you don't do this, you'll hate yourself." And so I did it, and I won first place out of 19,000 entrants.
What?
Well, come on. 18,900 were 12-year-olds. So I had a little advantage. Eric Larson, who is full of shit, but I swear he's telling the truth on this, swears he came in second. Okay. Now, I don't know if he's full of shit on this or not, because he's full of shit on most things. But so I won the contest. I get a call one night. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Nobody's home. I don't know where my wife is. And "Hey, Mr. Bagley," said, "this is so-and-so from Marvel." I had no idea who. It was a young woman. And said, "You won the tryout contest." "Oh, really? That's great. What now?" "We don't know. We'll figure something out." And I didn't hear shit for like 6 months. And Marvel, an early Dragon Con, so this is 35 years ago or so, and Marvel was bringing a big contingent down, and it was Jim Shooter who was editor-in-chief, John Romita was coming down, John Byrne was there, and so I thought, I'm going to go see Jim Shooter and see what the hell's going on, because it was kind of his baby. And so I go to this hotel, and it's crowded, and everybody's running around, and I see Jim walking through a lobby, and he's got like a dozen people standing around talking to him. And so I kind of wait patiently and walk up to Jim Shooter, who, you're what, about 6'4"?
6'2".
6'2".
Thank you, though.
Shooter's 6'7", 9, 10 or something, And he, back in the day, he wore just black suits, and he's craggy looking. And I walked up to him and said, "Mr. Shooter, I'm Mark Bagley. I won the tryout contest." "Mark!" And he's like, "We've really dropped the ball on this. We've got to get you to New York. We got to, you meet the editors, and we'll take care of you."
Yeah.
And I was so young and naive. I was like, "I can't afford to fly to New York." And he literally patted me on the head and says, "We'll take care of you. We'll buy your ticket." So that got me a trip to New York City with Doug Hazelwood, who won the inking part of it. Mm-hmm. And 3 days we were in there, and Shooter was out. He was in Europe, so nobody knew we were coming. So some flunky, shoved us in everybody's office, and they all kicked us out. And Larry Hama was mean to me, and he's mean to everybody. No, it's nice. I'm kidding. But so this is how things have changed. The last day I was there, it was I think an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours. I think it was an hour and a half before my flight. I was still in the offices. That's how you could do it back then.
Wow.
Because I was flying out of LaGuardia, which is
Right.
like a 15-minute cab ride. And the last editor I saw on that day was Greg Wright. He was doing the New Universe line, and it was going down in flames, and they just needed bodies. So they gave me a one shot, and I did another one shot. I did another one. For a year and a half. I worked at Lockheed during the day and worked in comics at night. And lived on about 4 hours sleep a night. And right as Lockheed started laying off, a year and a half later, I was getting enough work to actually think about quitting and doing comics full time. We closed on a brand new house because I knew if I'd quit Lockheed, we'd never get a loan as a freelancer. And I quit the next day, and I've been doing comics ever since. The moral of this story, kids, and look at the camera, is, if I hadn't done that book, if I hadn't been ready, apparently I was really terrible, but if I hadn't done that book, I hadn't taken that shot, I don't know what I'd be doing, because I'm good at really good at one thing. I'm really good at two things, but we don't talk about that. Okay. And, so if you got something you want to do and you get an opportunity, A, you be ready for it. You work at it, and B, you take the shot. Yeah. Because like I said, I literally don't know what I'd be doing today.
Wow. Preparation meets opportunity, and you took advantage of that. I remember that tryout book. I think I own one, and I think I dabbled a little bit, but I didn't take it too seriously.
I think they sold the out of those things. Yeah. I don't know how many they sold, but a lot of them. The prize was supposed to be they were going to publish the comic.
Right.
And they never did because, as I understand it, the colors just like disappeared off the face of the earth, and they couldn't publish it without legally, apparently, because it was a contest and yada yada yada. And that's the story. But like I said, it's been 40 years, so I'm really not entirely sure.
Wow. So what was your then? I guess what was your first paid published work?
My first paid published work was Night Mask. I did
Night Mask.
A couple of issues of Night Mask. And
was that part of the New Universe?
Yeah. He was this young teenage kid who had I think a moon and half crescent on his forehead, and he could get into your dreams.
Right.
Very original concept. Right. And I got this issue, and it was cool because it was like dream sequences, and there was like all these characters in the background, like Superman as a balloon and stuff. And like I said, I was working my tail off. In fact, I was in Florida on vacation. We didn't take vacations. We didn't have any money, but I was at my parents', and I was working at their table, drawing this stuff. And I worked my tail off on it, and I was very excited. And then Ernie Chan, God rest his soul, inked it, and I thought I'd never work again. And he just butchered it. I mean, it looked so bad. This not good-looking little white kid, kind of looked like a Cro-Magnon, by the time he got done. And I just was like, son of a bitch. But they gave me another one. The third one I did, they had me do breakdowns. And I had no idea what a breakdown was. Nobody explained anything, and I was too embarrassed to ask. So I did little thumbnails, sent them in, and Tony DeZignuga, blew the thumbnails up and traced those and inked those. So I was like, because I had no idea what I was doing. I literally had no idea, So
now you had some art training though.
Yeah,
you said, right. But now it wasn't for comic art.
No, I took fine arts because I wasn't. The Kubert School had just come out, and I wasn't sure if I should commit myself just to comics. It just didn't seem right. So I wasted 3 years in fine arts. I really was a waste of time. I mean, God, I hate artists. Artists, I really hate those bastards. In fact, I quit in my last semester of my last year.
Really?
I just ran out of money, ran out of patience. I almost punched my painting instructor. He's like, we need you to do 7 paintings and these sizes, yada, yada, yada. And that's for the semester. And every time you'd bring it in, say, I'm finished. No, you're not. Do some more. Artists. So it's been a long convention. I'm a little punchy right now. Okay.
I think this is a great time to do the interview. What? So
you haven't even had me talking about how I sleep. Now, come on. I've done interviews that you wouldn't believe. All right, let's go.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your process. How has your process, I guess, evolved over time.
Uh, it really has actually. It used to be I would just go. Well, I used to work on plots, which was the 8 pages for a 22-page comic, and you lay out the entire book and then work out from there. And I never laid out an entire book because I'm always, while I'm drawing, I'm thinking about what's coming up next, and even if it's subconsciously, I'm thinking about easier ways, more effective ways to draw whatever's coming up next. J.R. Jr., he lays out the entire book, and he and we've had these discussions how our processes are so different because it would make me nuts. And now that it's full script, I basically just do page by page. I mean, that's how I do it. But it used to be I would just I draw a little sketch basically what the panel layout was going to be and just start drawing on the board. But over the years, as I've tried to refine myself and do better work and less cartoony work and that sort of thing, more and more I'm finding myself, drawing. I usually it's like 57% smaller, and then blowing that up and tracing that very lightly, and then going into the drawing on that. So I find myself adjusting the sizes of things I do using. Basically, I've got a really nice copier, LaserJet copier. I don't do digital. I mean, it would so speed me up. I think if I did figure out how to do that, we could blow things up. But I think it would also slow me down because you got all these options. You're blowing it up. You're doing things. And I've had discussion with the digital guys. I mean, I still work practical. I'm still on the board with pen and pencil. And the thing I just don't get the digital guys is, when I'm done, I've got a piece of intrinsic artwork which I can keep, I can gift, I can sell.
Right.
I've got a stack of artwork in a safe someplace that's this deep.
Right.
And when a digital artist is done, he's got a file.
Right.
Right. And it's a beautiful file, but it's the supplement to my income on just art sales is it doesn't make any sense not to do that. Plus, I just love having that thing, that you can hang on a wall.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I've gotten into purchasing art, and it's just a way for me to connect with just the medium that I love. So I appreciate everything that you have done. I would love to invite you to my garage, but that would sound weird, so I won't do that.
It's not your basement, is it?
No, it's not my basement. That's all the time that we have, but I just want to say, Mark Bagley, it was great to talk with you, and I would love to talk with you more.
I'm known to be a funny MFer. You should get my wife and I together on a stage. We actually have a really good time.
We'll have her here next time.
All right.
Mark Bagley, thank you very much.
You're welcome.